You didn't land here by accident. You weren't tossed into your family like dice across a cosmic table. No, you agreed to this, long before your first breath ever touched this world. And the strange part is, some part of you remembers. That recurring dream you've had since childhood, the deep ache you can't explain when you look at the stars, the feeling you've known your mother before, in another time. These aren't delusions or fantasies. They are echoes, whispers from the moment your soul said, yes, before this life there was a meeting, a sacred space outside of time, a silence where only truth exists. And in that silence, your soul saw everything, the pain, the love, the loss, the betrayal, and still, you said, I choose this. Why? Why would a soul choose suffering? Why would anyone agree to be born into a broken home, to face abandonment, or illness, or rejection? Because your soul knew what your human self would forget, that each of those wounds would become gateways, portals to remembering who you really are. This is the mystery behind the soul contract, not a punishment, not fate as a cruel master, but a divine agreement to awaken, even if it takes breaking your heart to do it. Many people believe karma is just about past life debt, but what if karma is also the path back to yourself? What if each soul you meet in this life, especially the ones who hurt you, is playing their part in your soul's remembrance? Yes, even the father who left, even the mother who couldn't love you right, even the sibling who made you feel invisible. What if their role in your life was pre-agreed, not to destroy you, but to awaken you, to shake you out of the illusion that love comes from outside and to force you inward, to unlock the power buried beneath lifetimes of forgetting? Imagine this. Before your birth, you sat in a circle of light, surrounded by beings who loved you beyond words, and they showed you the life you were about to live. They showed you the family via the trials and the heartbreak, and you nodded, because you knew that every soul who would trigger your pain would also activate your potential. What you call the worst moments of your life may actually be the most sacred agreements your soul ever made. And that's why awakening hurts. Because to remember the contract, you must first unravel the illusion. You must question everything, including the stories you were told about yourself. You are not broken. You are remembering. You are not behind. You are right on time. If you've felt out of place in your own family, if you've wondered why you chose this body, this story, this pain, it's because your soul chose the exact coordinates for your awakening. And here's something even more powerful. The contract isn't set in stone. You are not a prisoner of your past. You're a co-creator of your destiny. And every time you make a conscious choice to heal, to forgive, to rise, you rewrite the contract from a higher place. This is what the ancient mystics meant by soul alchemy. The fire you're walking through is not to burn you. It's to reveal the gold that was hidden all along. Take a breath now and ask yourself, what if everything that broke you was part of what's waking you up? Let that question echo. And if these words are stirring something in you, leave a comment with one thing your soul may have chosen for a higher purpose. And gently subscribe to this space, this soul sanctuary. If you haven't already, you belong here. More is coming. Let's go deeper. They told you you'd forget, that the moment you passed through the veil of birth, the memories would vanish like breath on glass, that you'd wake up as a baby, innocent, wide-eyed, but amnesic. Still, your soul didn't panic. It had a plan. It left you signs, clues, codes tucked into the folds of your being, in your eyes, your voice, your dreams, your longing. Because nothing that is truly sacred is ever truly lost. It's only veiled. That's why some children speak of past lives. That's why you feel instant love or repulsion towards someone you've just met. That's why certain places feel like home, even if you've never set foot there. Your soul remembers what your mind has yet to recall. Before you were born, you stood in front of what the ancients called the mirror of souls. In it you saw your essence, all your past incarnations, all your lessons unfinished, all the karmic threads still tangled in light. You didn't enter this life blindly. You reviewed your patterns. You chose a body that would serve your purpose. You chose a family that would press every button of your spiritual memory, not because you wanted to suffer, but because you wanted to remember through contrast. The soul doesn't evolve in a vacuum. It evolves through friction, through longing, through the ache of separation that leads it back to wholeness. And that's the paradox. The very pain that makes you feel lost is the pain that was designed to bring you home. Some call it karma, others call it divine orchestration, but it is the same thread, the same golden filament woven through every life you've lived. That's why your triggers are sacred, why your patterns are maps, and why your deepest pain is also the key to your greatest power. You see, no soul arrives here unprepared. There is a sacred intelligence behind every incarnation, behind every childhood wound, every rejection, every betrayal. And if you listen closely, really listen, you'll start to hear it. It might sound like an echo in a dream, like a song you've never heard before but somehow know. Like the way your heart tightens when someone says exactly what you needed to hear. These are not coincidences, they are reminders. Reminders that you are not just flesh and bone. You are memory wrapped in spirit. You are purpose hidden inside pain. You didn't forget because you were weak. You forgot because you were brave enough to start again. Brave enough to walk into the fire of forgetting, knowing you'd find your way back to the truth. And truth isn't just something you find, it's something you become. So if you've been feeling lost, if you've been wondering why your path has been so heavy, so confusing, it may be because you're right on the edge of remembering. And sometimes, remembering looks like falling apart. Sometimes it looks like waking up in the middle of the night with tears you can't explain. Sometimes it sounds like a voice inside you saying, "There's more to this life, keep going." That voice, that's your soul speaking through the cracks. If you've ever felt this voice, if you've ever looked at the stars and sensed you're not just here, you're meant to be here. Write in the comments, "I'm starting to remember." Let those words anchor your journey. Let them ripple through this field of souls waking up together. And if this message stirred something ancient inside you, subscribe and walk with us. You're not alone in this remembering. The soul never forgets. It only waits. What if I told you that the ones who hurt you the most were once beings of light who loved you so deeply? They agreed to play the villain so you could rise. This isn't about justifying pain. It's about seeing beyond the veil. Because from the soul's view, nothing is personal. Everything is purposeful. Before your birth, you gathered with your soul council. You looked across realms of light and possibility, and together you wrote a contract. Not in ink, but in energy, in vibration, in love. You chose your mother, your father, your siblings. You even chose the absent ones. You chose the souls who would activate your memory, not with comfort, but with contrast. Because souls don't evolve by staying safe. They evolve by stretching beyond the known. And who better to trigger your deepest awakening than those closest to your heart? Family is never random. The family you were born into was not a mistake. It was a mirror, a stage, a crucible. You may have come into a family of silence, of chaos, of pain, of love withheld, but your soul knew. It knew that being born into that pattern would crack you open in just the right way. So you'd search, so you'd ask, so you'd remember. Even the trauma served a hidden alchemy. Even the abandonment carried a hidden message. You are more than what they see. You are more than what they gave. You see, many of the people you call family today have traveled with you before. Lifetime after lifetime, wearing different faces, playing different roles. Sometimes as parent, sometimes as child, sometimes as lover, as rival, as friend, but always for the same reason, to awaken your soul. There is a reason why you can feel tied to someone even when logic fails, why you feel repelled by others without a clear cause. It's not about the personality, it's about the contract underneath. And yes, sometimes, you break the contract mid-life, you walk away, you choose distance, silence, healing. And that too is sacred, because the contract wasn't about staying stuck, it was about remembering your worth, your sovereignty, your voice. Breaking patterns is not betrayal. It's evolution. You are not here to endlessly endure. You're here to transform the very energy that brought you into this lineage, to heal what they couldn't, to speak what was silenced, to forgive what they buried. And in doing so, you liberate not just yourself, but the generations behind you, and the ones yet to come. That is the true power of spiritual memory, not to relive the past, but to rewrite its meaning. So if your family has been your greatest challenge, perhaps it's because your soul is ready for its greatest breakthrough. Perhaps they were never here to keep you safe, but to ignite your search for truth. Perhaps the love you craved from them was always meant to be discovered within yourself. You chose them, they agreed, and now you are waking up to the contract. If that resonates with you, if you felt that deep stirring, the sense that your life was never random, that your pain had blueprints, tell us in the comments, I chose my family for a reason. And if you're on this path of remembrance, if these words feel like echoes from a forgotten truth, subscribe so this sacred journey never feels so alone again. We are remembering together. The soul remembers not by facts, but by resonance. Have you ever met someone and instantly felt the weight of unfinished business? Like your soul whispered, we've done this before. That's not your imagination. That's your memory, finally resurfacing. Soul contracts don't always resolve in one lifetime. Some lessons are too layered, too ancient, too entangled, so they echo across time, across flesh, across new names and faces. Sometimes the parent who abandoned you in this life was the partner who betrayed you in another. Sometimes the child you cannot reach was once your sibling, your twin soul, and your adversary, and the pattern, it repeats until the contract is fulfilled, until the soul says, I see now, I choose differently, because what the soul seeks is not punishment, but completion. We are not here to suffer endlessly. We are here to remember through experience, to recognize the pattern, and then to transcend it. But here is the trap. Most people don't see it as a contract. They see it as bad luck, as karma, as injustice, and so they blame, resent, repeat. But the awakened soul knows better. It pauses, reflects, and asks, why do I keep attracting the same wound in different costumes? Why does this pain feel familiar, even when the face has changed? Because energy doesn't lie, it recycles, and your soul is the common denominator, not in guilt, but in power. You are the one carrying the unhealed code, and you are the only one who can rewrite it. Here's how you know a contract is repeating. You attract the same dynamic again and again. The emotional wound is deeper than the situation seems to justify. You feel an intense pull to someone, even when they hurt you. You can't walk away, but staying feels like spiritual death. Or you meet someone and just know you have something to finish. But here's the miracle. When you wake up to the pattern, you gain the power to end it. That doesn't always mean walking away. Sometimes it means showing up differently, not reacting, not begging, not controlling, but choosing from clarity, from love, from truth. That moment of awareness is where the old contract dissolves, and a new one can begin. The soul doesn't always need the other person to change. It needs you to remember, to shift the frequency, to become the one who no longer needs pain as a teacher. That is the highest liberation. To love without bondage, to walk away without hate, to forgive without forgetting your worth. You came into this life carrying ancient agreements, some signed in desperation, others in deep love, some even in vows of revenge or sacrifice. But now, you're being given the chance to re-sign them, in awareness, in sovereignty, in soul wisdom, and you'll know you've completed a contract when the dynamic no longer has power over your peace, when you no longer seek closure because you are the closure. That is when the loop ends. That is when karma collapses. That is when the soul rises. If you've recognized a repeating soul pattern in your life, if something in your bones tells you, I've been through this before, write it in the comments. Not just for you, but so others can see they are not alone. Because we are each carrying silent contracts, but we don't have to carry them in silence anymore. And if these words stirred something in you, if this remembering feels like a homecoming, consider subscribing. Not just to this channel, but to the part of yourself that's waking up again. You are not broken. You are in completion. Not every contract must play out to the end. Some are meant to be broken, or more accurately, rewritten, because you are not just the character in this story. You are also the author. The moment you wake up, the moment you say, this ends with me, you take the quill from the hand of fate. You begin to write again, not from pain, but from presence. But let's be honest, it's not easy to break a contract you don't remember signing, especially when the pain has become your identity. Many souls cling to suffering because it's the only story they've ever known. The martyr, the abandoned one, the scapegoat, the misunderstood. But here's the truth. These are not your essence. They are echoes of past agreements. and you can choose something new. This is the divine privilege of being human. You carry the soul's wisdom, and yet you walk with the power of free will. No realm offers this paradox. No other plane allows you to look at your pain and say, I choose again. So how do you rewrite your soul contract? It begins with remembering the lesson. Not the story, not the name, not the wound, but the lesson. Ask yourself, what have these repeated dynamics tried to teach me? Boundaries, self-worth, surrender, patience, discernment, love without attachment? Your soul isn't punishing you. It's trying to wake you up to your own power. And once you see the pattern, you make the new agreement. Here's how. 1. Name the pattern, write it, speak it, bring it to the light. 2. Bless the lesson, thank the soul who played the villain. 3. Revoke the old vow. I no longer choose to learn through pain. 4. Write the new vow, one that honors your light, your worth, your clarity. 5. Embody the new contract in every decision, every boundary, every yes and no. This is not metaphysical poetry. It's sacred neurology. It rewires your energy field. It ends the loop. And you will know it worked, not because the world changes instantly, but because you do. The triggers soften, the faces shift, the echo fades. You start attracting people who reflect your healing, not your history. That is the evidence. That is the fruit of soul work. And there's something even more mystical. When you rewrite a soul contract in this life, you liberate not just yourself, but every ancestor who carried it before you. The rage, the silence, the abuse, the invisibility, the addiction, the people-pleasing, the self-erasure. You stop it here. You become the first breath of a new lineage. You are the turning point. In a story hundreds of years old. That is how powerful you are. Even when you doubt it, your soul remembers. So don't wait for another lifetime. You have the tools now. You have the vision. You have the choice. Break the silence. Bless the pain. Rewrite the vow. Say it with me. I no longer need pain to evolve. I remember who I am, and I walk in sacred choice. Now pause for a moment. Breathe, and notice what part of you softened. That is your soul, nodding in remembrance. And if this truth feels familiar, if it's stirring something ancient in you, comment below. I choose to rewrite my soul contract. Let's witness each other's awakening. You were never stuck. You were just waiting to remember you could choose. When the soul remembers and the world no longer owns you. Because something ancient awakens, something unshakable. It's not loud. It doesn't shout. It whispers, I came here on purpose. You are not a mistake in the lineage. You are not a cosmic accident. You chose this path, not for punishment but for precision, and now you remember. All those years you thought you were lost. You were simply preparing. Every wound, every silence, every betrayal, each one etched a map, a secret way back home. And now, it's time to walk it. Not as the victim, not as the seeker, but as the keeper of the vow. So here, before this moment closes, we will seal it with a sacred act, a ritual, simple, invisible, but powerful. Wherever you are, close your eyes. Take a breath, deeper, slower, like you're meeting your soul again. Now place your hand over your heart and repeat within, not just with words, but with presence. I accept my soul's choice. I forgive the pain. I honor the lesson, and I remember my power. Now bring both hands to your belly. This is your center, where the contract was once signed, and now rewritten. Whisper, I choose to stay awake. I walk forward, not by fate, but by soul. Now breathe again, and slowly open your eyes. If tears came, let them fall. If silence came, honor it. If nothing came, trust it still worked. Because rituals don't need fireworks, they just need honesty. And what you did here ripples far beyond what you can see. You are not who you were when this video began. You've ended something. You've begun something. This is what awakening feels like. Not loud, but irreversible. Before you go, I invite you to do something brave. Write in the comments, I remember the agreement. Just that. Nothing more. Let it echo, let it be seen. Because when one soul remembers, others begin to stir too. And if this journey stirred something in you, if you feel more whole, more awake, more you, consider subscribing. Not for me, but for you. So this remembering never dims again. We walk this together. You agreed to this. But now, you understand it. And the contract is no longer a burden. It's a torch. You were never meant to survive this life. You were meant to alchemize it. So see, light the path and walk on. The others will find you.